Mics should be on. Make sure you check your mics, please.
How's the president of the lake?
Are you going?
I'll give you that job.
To that?
Yeah.
Well, do we know when it's going to be so I can schedule time?
Yeah, it's an open meeting.
That was, your mic was on.
Did you get that on record?
Excuse me, I'm
I'd like to retract the statement, please, honey.
I didn't say she wasn't.
I wonder if his wife listens to the meetings.
I missed it.
Right in the paper, headlines.
Listen, women are always nice if you're not married to them.
Good morning and welcome to the Berry County Board of Commissioners meeting for Committee of the Whole for June 3rd, 2025. If you would please stand for a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please be seated. Commissioners, before we get started tonight, I'd like to amend the agenda. Greg Moore from Consumers Power is here. We've had some conversations based on some information that we've heard from Commissioner Campbell and some of our constituents that were here a few weeks ago, so we would ask him to address some of those things. So after the PACE financing request, which Eric Zuzga will lead, I'm going to put Consumers Power in there. I would entertain a motion for an amended agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Smelker, support by Bassett. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We have an amended agenda. Thank you. All those opposed, I guess that'd be a good one too. All right. Reports from state and county officials. Are there any state and county officials with us this morning that would like to address the board? Hearing none, limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board for any item on our agenda this morning, you're welcome to speak now for up to 3 minutes. Okay, we are going to keep moving right along. The chair would entertain a motion for approval of the May 20th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Tunison, support by Calton for approval of the May 20th, 2025 Committee of the Whole meeting minutes. Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Liz Lentz, come on down.
Got my friend Bill with me. Oh, he even brings his own chair.
Guy's efficient.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Liz Lenz, coordinator of the Berry County Substance Action Task Force. Who are you?
I'm Bill Matz, and I'm the chair of the OSF RFP Scoring Committee, also the executive director of the Child Abuse Prevention.
I want to thank you for the commission for all your time and efforts and support for the opioid settlement funds RFP process. I want to give you a little we are coming to you just a few weeks later than we had planned, and basically this is our well, I could have done that for you. Can you hear me?
Yep. I would think.
Okay, want me to move it a little closer?
Yes, please.
Okay, so here with an update regarding the opioid settlement funds RFP process. As you know, we opened the window and we closed the window. We had a fair amount of inquiries and some questions about technical assistance, and we felt pretty good. We had done a pretty good job promoting the RFP, and we weren't quite sure what to expect. And when it all came to the end, when we collected all of the RFPs, we had one application. which was a bit of a surprise, and some might even say a little bit of a disappointment, because we had anticipated, we had inquiries and some comments to indicate that people would be submitting. And in the end, we had one application. It did meet criteria to be reviewed. And so today, we are going to bring that recommendation in front of you for your consideration and approval. But before we do that, what we feel that we need to do as stewards and helpers to steward these opioid settlement funds is review the process, talk to people about why they did not, if they had an interest, why they didn't follow up with a completed application. What can we do as a committee and an oversight, kind of a subcommittee or overseeing this process to help have people have better access to the application, maybe an easier application, follow through, better technical support. We don't know. So we'll do a little bit of needs assessment and then revise the RFP as needed and reopen the window. So that would be what we would want to do to help steward these dollars, to get them to the folks who need they need the funds to be used in ways to help not only them but everybody in this community. Prevention, whatever can be done. Okay, based on our opioid settlement funds needs assessment, we know we have good areas and we identified what those were. So I'll turn it over to Bill.
The scoring committee consisted of 5 individuals. Of course, those 5 individuals, either personally or where they worked, were not involved in seeking funding through the OSF process. One of the scoring members also had lived life experience with substance use disorder. As Liz said, we had one agency request funds, and the committee scored that request independently, so we didn't work together. We all scored it independently. They were sent in blindly to Liz Lentz and our consultant that's helping, and they put it together, took all the identification of who scored what, and we came together as a committee and went through the scoring. We found that the one applicant, it's a great agency and does some great work. There were a couple things that they were short on. It's really a grassroots kind of agency. It's the Berry County Serenity Club, and it acts as a drop-in center. People who are members of the club have access to remote entry into the building 24 hours a day. If somebody is not a member of the Serenity Club, they can call one of the board of directors, and get an access code to come into the building. They have meetings every day of the week, Monday through Friday. The kind of shortfall that we kind of saw is that in the write-up of the RFP, we had asked that the funding should not supplant. We didn't say it can't supplant operational funds, but we said should not. We see some of this money as supplanting some of the money we're going to ask you to approve as maybe supplanting funds that they raise currently. And the other thing is we focused in the RFP on making sure that it's a evidence-based technology, whether that's programs or whatever they do is based on evidence. This is really a grassroots thing where people lead groups. Some of it might be tied to a 12-step program. Some is just, a support group kind of thing where they're talking. So those are the 2 areas that we saw maybe a weakness. But I want to go through some points of why we suggest that you approve $15,000. They had requested over $40,000 originally, and we're suggesting to keep them active in the community that you approve $15,000. So one of the things that they are is a welcoming space, and And this is really important to recovery because it meets both emotional and kind of practical needs of those people that are in substance use. It reduces isolation. So anytime somebody has an addiction problem, that isolation is a big problem in recovery. The more they're alone, the less success they typically have in their recovery process. It really builds trust and belonging. So they build a community there at Berry County Serenity Club, and the people that go there trust others because they have the same background. They work together closely at the Serenity Club. It offers consistency and safety. It encourages that peer connection. It removes barriers to access. You think about the hoops you have to jump through with a lot of agencies, whether it's the Family Support Center, Community Mental Health, or other agencies, Berry County Cares, where people go for help. There's always a level of hoop jumping that people have to go through. Berry County Serenity Club, those barriers are pretty limited. You just have to basically identify who you are. And it really, their type of program really supports that long-term recovery. The more people are involved on a daily basis and are not isolated, it really helps them. So it's really a lifeline, and it really can, builds these conditions that are going to help them be successful in life. So what we're asking for in maybe 2 recommendations. I don't know if you'll want to, if you need to approve the second one, but we are putting forward that we would propose $15,000 in my letter that I sent to Eric, and you have in your packet, what we call emergency funding. But it's just making sure that through the end of the year, they have the funding available to continue services. And the other recommendation, and it may not need to be approved, is reopening the RFP. I think we have the power to do that, but I'll leave that up to the commission if you think that if that needs to be approved by the commission. Are there any questions about the scoring or anything?
Scoring is simpler when you have one application, so, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Questions from commissioners?
I have one. Do you know when you would be reopening the RFP, roughly?
That is a wonderful question. I would say yesterday. I think these funds are one of the things that we want to do is get these funds to the people who deserve them, need them, and have use for them as soon as possible. So as soon as possible, ideally things don't happen as fast as I would like them to. So I would say, what do you think?
Yeah.
30 days?
Right.
Yeah.
And one more follow-up question.
Sure.
Will you have similar criteria as you had before, or were you talking about maybe tweaking them?
I think we should take a look. We need to get some input from the people that indicated they were going to apply and find out why they didn't. And then we also need to find out from folks who thought about an application, what about the RFP perhaps could be different or make a little more sense, and if there's anything, so a little bit of needs assessment. As you know, when we wrote this RFP, we wrote about evidence-based strategies, and we also said, should not supplant. And this was all written last December and approved and went into effect. I've talked with Amy DeLinky at the Michigan Association of Counties, who is the technical advisor for the state opioid settlement funds, and she said, we're in a different world now. I talked with her a couple weeks ago, and she said, we're in a different world now where agencies that are serving folks who are in recovery or who have lost loved ones due to opioid fatal overdoses, those funds are gone. So we may have to take a look at helping with these emergency funds, and we may have to take a look at the best way to get people help that's no longer financially available. So did that answer your question?
Just one comment that I'd like to add is that one of the things we saw with Berry County Serenity Club is that they're just people from the street, so they really didn't know how to write the proposal. So one of the things that we want to look at tweaking is maybe the readability and the ease of application, and maybe some of it be a kind of a checkbox kind of thing instead of a narrative.
Yeah, and I would add too that, that's a great thing about accessibility, because we had checked all those boxes, checking on reading level and all the different things, but so we're going to get some feedback from others and, kind of do a different form of technical assistance, maybe have some sort of people who are interested would attend that session where we'll kind of walk them through how to fill it out, not what they should do and what do we think about an idea, but let's talk to you about how this RFP should be filled out and what kind of information the scoring committee is going to want to see.
Okay. Commissioner Cullen.
I'm more interested in what the Serenity Club is. When I was in chiropractic school in Chicago, I worked at a inpatient 60-day recovery program, and they had AA, they had CA, Cocaine's Anonymous, NA, Narcotics Anonymous. And I'm just trying to understand the Serenity Club. What is that like? What is it?
I don't have their mission or their bylaws in front of me, but it is a peer-led, recovery-focused support and peer organization. It's all run by volunteers, and they basically, like Bill mentioned, they do run meetings that may be linked to, as you mentioned, AA or other 12-step meetings, but they may have other peer-led meetings that are focused on recovery, where it's just a community of folks who have been there, done that walk, helping each other, as bringing them along and helping others walk that walk of recovery, or getting involved in a different lifestyle so they can have a different, more positive outcome. So it really is a recovery support club, and it's, again, I don't have their bylaws or their mission in front of me. They could answer that better, but it's been in the community for quite a few years. They host things like the Recovery Concert on National Overdose Prevention Day, which is usually August 31st. In years past, they've had sober events or recovery-focused substance-free events, such as chili cook-offs and fishing competitions and different things, so that people who are seeking to enjoy camaraderie and fellowship do not have to put themselves in situations where substances, including those substances that may have caused them pain and suffering, they're not present.
Okay, so it itself is not like one of these 12-step programs.
It is not. They do run 12-step groups and other recovery support peer groups, and it's not like an Al-Anon club that's purely an AA sanctioned club or service organization. So they have the freedom to, they're guided by people in recovery, people with lived experience, helping others to obtain the same.
And tell me again, where they meet, is it your building?
No, they have their own building on the corner of, I drive past it like...
Court in Michigan?
I think it might be Court in Michigan. Kind of, and they have that building where, if you think about where the old Love Incorporated used to be, they're kind of in that bank of buildings there. They have a 2-story building, and down below they have the donation den, which is open on weekends, and that's where people can come in and get some free items if they need them. They've gone through a reorganization, and I believe they had funds to operate for about 2 months.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Smoker.
I just want to say thank you to Liz and Bill. I really like the way that you run the committee, Bill, and the way you looked at the applications, although there was just one. And I really appreciate you putting the RFPs back out and streamlining the method and finding out what went wrong. So it was just a comment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Additional questions? I agree with Commissioner Smoker's comments. I thought you guys have done a meticulous job of really reviewing some of the needs, being connected to the community and knowing what those needs are. We just have to figure out why. So I think
We need to dial it in.
I think your approach is very good, and I'm sure if you're talking with people at the state level and talking to other counties about what their RFPs look like, you're on the right track. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's just dialing in a little bit, as you said. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
No other questions or comments? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to present the opioid settlement fund request for proposed recommendations to the Board of Commissioners for approval. We did that. Oh, description of actions. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the recommendation of the opioid settlement fund scoring work group to be presented to the Board of Commissioners for their approval and action funding.
I would like to make that motion.
Motion by Calton, support by Hatfield for the approval of the recommendation of the opioid settlement fund scoring work group. It will be presented to the Board of Commissioners for their approval and action for funding for the $15,000. Additional discussion or comments? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
And maybe to answer your other question, Liz, I'm not sure the board needs to approve a revised RFP process.
Okay, we'll get it
We'll
going.
discuss with Eric as well, but I don't think that needs to come before the board. We've already seen it, and this has been like a comet coming through the sky for a long time. That we've been working on this, it seems like, for years.
We have, and quite honestly, if you know me, I am not a patient person. I got tested for patients, and I was negative every time. So this has been just a labor of really service to people to get these dollars where people need them. So I want to say thank you. And I said 30 days, it might be longer, but we'll get it back open and really do the due diligence that we need to do to make this work. So thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yes.
I suggested they didn't need to come back, but obviously they wanted to make sure with the tweaks that they're looking at. I don't think it's going to be substantial.
I agree.
So I told them to go ahead at their discretion.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Morgan.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I am Morgan Powell. I'm the director at the Berry County Animal Shelter. I am here to recommend the Board of Commissioners to approve disposal or sale of our old Ford Transit Connect 2012. We no longer use it.
Okay, this is the third vehicle then? You have two that are...
Yeah, we just got a new one. It finally came in probably 5-ish months ago, and we
Okay.
don't use this one they've had since 2012, I believe.
How's the condition?
Right now, I would say it probably needs some front-end work as it's a little wobbly when you're driving. It needs a new battery, probably an oil change by now. It smells like dogs, so I don't know. I mean, you can't control that, but, so I don't know exactly what we would like to do with that.
Okay. All right. Questions from commissioners?
How would you I'm sorry.
Just sell it.
Commissioner Smith?
How are you figuring on disposing of it? Putting it on eBay or something?
I mean, you could try Marketplace, Facebook, you could just advertise it to sell it, or take it to the scrapyard if that was something you guys would like to do.
Is that we'll have a process that will advertise it because it is a county asset that will put it out for bid. And people can submit bids. We may have a minimum bid for it that we're asking based on the condition of it when they appraise it or take a look at it, so.
Do we notify Pandos?
Perhaps.
Okay. With front-end trouble.
Yeah. That's what we've done in the past anyways, is that the county has handled the sale of those vehicles, so.
Very good.
Additional questions? Okay. The chair will entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to dispose of a 2012 My Ford Transit Connect, VIN number NMOKS9BN7CT124170.
Support.
Motion by Tunis and support by Getty to recommend to the Board of Commissioners for approval to dispose of the 2012 My Ford Transit Connect with the VIN number I just read that I don't want to read again. Discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Next up is our PACE financing request. I think, Commissioners, you remember this conversation since we've had it a couple times over the past 6 months and have gone over this fairly thoroughly, so we'll see how your memories are. Go ahead.
Good morning. With me is John Wiley from Leading Green, Michigan. Many of you remember Mary. John is their chief counsel. So he went through the packet. He delivered it to me last week. And he's going to be touching on the specifics of the project. This is the project that was brought to, why PACE was brought to your attention. And I can tell you that the developer wanted us to approve it today and had explained that's not how things work. But it'll get, hopefully, if things go well, they'll get approved next week and they can move forward with the project. So I had one question from commissioners prior to the meeting, and the PACE agreement, if you recall, was reviewed by council, our council, during the drafting of it. I did not send back this specific one because it was filling in the blanks, basically. So the original was reviewed and also indicated they've done this multiple times for multiple of their clients. So I feel we got the blessing from council on that side. So with that being said, John, I'm going to turn it over to you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for having me. So I'm sure most of you guys here are familiar with the project at hand, the Hastings River Walk Lofts on Mill Street. So this project came to us seeking PACE financing for energy efficiency improvements for the new construction project, which includes things like the building envelope, lighting, HVAC, and plumbing. So we had an engineer go in. It's this Boulder Energy Engineers. That's the energy audit you see in the packet, and they do an analysis based on the plans for the building, what energy efficiency improvements they're going to make, and how they compare to the minimal requirements, and minimal requirements being like a at-code building. So through those, they identified PACE eligible items. They, through their modeling, this would save the property owner $155,000 just in utility costs the first year. So there's some really nice, simple upgrades to be made, increasing the, like I said, the insulation, the U value of the windows, the efficiency of the HVAC, the flow of the water, and the rest of the project was actually very simple. This was considered probably a low headache project. Consists of 2 parcels. They're up on all their taxes, which is a requirement. They have clear title, no issues there. They have a mortgage with Mercantile Bank, and Mercantile has given lender consent for up to $4.5 million in PACE. And we've identified that amount will stay in line with the 25% PACE to value on the property, and then the total debt on the property will stay in line with the maximum of 90% of total debt on the property compared to the appraised value. So for our checklist, this meets all the boxes. And we would push it to the board to recommend approval. Obviously, then seek your guys' approval for the authorized official to sign off on it, and we would then facilitate the actual closing of the PACE special assessment, which would culminate in me taking the special assessment that you see, the final version of it, with all the signatures and everything, to the Register of Deeds, recording it, and they would be able to close the PACE loan.
And Mercantile Bank is funding the project.
As the senior lender.
And they're funding the PACE as well?
No, the PACE lender is Peachtree Group out of Atlanta, Georgia, the PACE lender on the project. So there's 2 separate lenders, one being Mercantile with the senior lender, and Peachtree Group being the PACE lender.
Okay. And just to go over what we've already discussed, Berry County having this assessment on the property, we are still first in line if something goes, whatever the case is. That I think that's what we discussed earlier. That was a concern, that where we are, but okay.
It operates, the same as any other special assessment on the property. It is a first position used equal to your taxes and any other special assessment.
Okay, secured first position. All right, questions from commissioners?
I just have one. I see it's financing for 420 East Mill, but that takes in 3 buildings, right?
So there's 3 apartment buildings and a commercial building over 2 parcels.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got 420 and 328 listed on the report.
Yeah, so the parcels numbers ending in 00102 and 00104.
Very good. Just takes in the whole thing.
And that's why when I said last week, if you remember, we were talking about the market, remember that conversation this week? That's part of the reason.
Okay. Additional questions, comments, concerns?
Kind of, it basically just boils down to is what you could do is basic windows to get non-efficient windows, not like what they're going to be putting in, versus hybrid insulation, upgrading lighting, EV, everything. That's basically what it boils down to, is that the PACE is basically paying for all these upgrades that they don't necessarily have to do to save them energy costs.
Yeah.
Which,
Absolutely, and it's always optional, for the property owner to make those choices to do so. But the PACE program is set up to encourage them to do it and open up, private financing for them to help facilitate it. So the property owner sees it as a win-win. Obviously, they're getting money to help them finish the project, but then they're also realizing the savings every year for the life of the windows, which is projected to be about 26 years. So.
To me, the most telling thing is the fact that the senior lender is willing to sign off on this because they see the benefit that comes from making that a higher quality project.
Absolutely.
So,
and the benefit they get is, the biggest thing is the project gets done.
Right.
Senior lenders are good to fund a lot of it, but they never want to be in for 100% of the cost. So they, obviously there needs to be money coming from elsewhere. And so from the senior lender, this PACE loan is helping them finish the capital stack and get the project done, and then at the same time making it more efficient, saving on cash flow later on in the years.
And I would assume, in your experience, taking a second position when you have the primary mortgage is not something they do lightly.
no, absolutely not something that they do lightly. So that's why I say I think they see a true benefit to this. It not only improves the cash flow, but it enhances the value of the total project. So to me, that's a very, very significant action to see a senior lender willing to do that.
Absolutely.
I take it this is very minimal work on our equalization department?
Yeah.
Yeah, and actually, it's even less work than a lot of states. In Michigan, we've designed a model that's direct bill from the lender. So we create the special assessment, it exists, but it just exists on paper for the county. The lender directly bills the borrower, they pay them back directly. Only if they ever miss a payment would it actually ever need to be put on the tax roll. And that's happened a few times out of the almost 100 projects we've done, where it even has to go on the bill once, and that usually it gets resolved after being on the bill once. So we have the lenders bill them directly. So the goal is we close, and then you hear from me in 25 years when I'm sure you guys will all still be here working, and I'll be here, and we'll release it. So
I won't be.
You might be the only one.
There's always a chance. There's a lot of people choose to pay off early. They refinance their senior loan, especially with new construction. So there's a chance it's 5 or 6 years from now, but that would be the best case scenario. Is we record, no one has to do any work except the lender bills, the borrower pays, and then we release once everything's paid.
Okay. I'll leave a note in my John Wiley, 2050.
Yeah, what year would that be? Yeah, 2050. Yeah, jeez.
So, we'll see. Additional questions? I think this is a great project for Hastings and for the county. It's transformational for this area. When you've got a food hub in there, you've got a child care center, you're going to go farm to table or farm to store to table. We've got an outlet here, 130 plus units, a $32 million project, I think we agreed on. And when I had talked to Jennifer, and this is a couple months ago, we were talking over 1,400 units of housing coming into the county, led through some of the EDA work that they've done, and this PACE program kind of marries with what we're trying to accomplish here, checking those boxes with childcare, with the food center, with additional housing units. So, I support this all the way, and I think it's a good thing for our county.
And hopefully the first of many. You obviously heard a lot about the PACE program from Mary the past couple times. That was just to get you guys up and running. This is the first project, and we're glad to see one come to fruition so quickly. But this, hopefully, is not the last property owner and project developer to take advantage of this program in the county.
Yeah, absolutely. There are no other additional questions. The chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the PACE Special Assessment Agreement for the proposed project at 420 East Mill Street.
So moved.
Support, Campbell.
Motion by Hatfield, support by Campbell to recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval of the PACE Special Assessment Agreement for the proposed project at 420 East Mill Street. Additional comments or discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you very much.
John. Thank you, Eric.
Thank you.
Next up on our amended agenda, Greg Moore with Consumers Power.
Oh, thank you.
Greg, I appreciate you stopping by this morning. After having some discussion and hearing some concerns from some of our constituents, we just had some questions and felt we needed some clarification, so thank you for coming.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Greg Moore, Community Affairs Manager with Consumers Energy. As many of you know, we've been in a little bit of a quiet period since I was here last, so there hasn't been a lot to update you on. I think the last time I was here, I mentioned that we were going to be cutting some trees, and we've done that. And so that's one of the questions I know that was raised, or comments that was made, was about all the trees that were cut. And in checking with our staff, we did cut over 150 trees out there. However, all of them were either on our property specifically or on properties that are participating in the project. So all of them were clearly outlined in the plans that we submitted, and they were only trees that were going to impact either the shading of the panels or access to the sites. So in order to get off the road and into the laydown yards or into where we're doing the work, some of those trees had to come out as well. So those are the only trees that have been cut. All that work is now done. There may be some additional trimming, but for now I'm told all of the forestry work is done and they're out of there. That was done. We try to do that in the winter time when they can get in and the fuel is harder. So I know in a project like this, it's a big one, right? It's probably one of the largest projects Berry County has seen in a decade or more. And so now that it's real, we're obviously starting to see some folks say, hey, what's going on? And it's hard to believe after all the discussion we've had over the last couple of years that there's still folks that don't know about the project, but there are, and we accept that, and so we have to constantly be updating and educating and making people aware. So what I tried to do was, based upon the information that was provided to you from the Drain Commissioner, as well as the comments of the videos that I watched of the meetings that I was not at, I put together a list of questions that, or comments that the public had brought forward to you. And so I want to just go through those because, as I say at the very outset of this project, our job, my job in particular, is to be fully transparent with all of you. We have nothing to hide on this project. We know it's a big impact, especially on the people in Johnstown Township and those that live directly adjacent to the project. We know that. And so we want to be sensitive to that, and we want to make sure we answer your questions. And I'll go through, towards the end, a couple of things that we're doing to be even more proactive than we have been. So, first off, the issue of decommissioning and insurance. So first of all, the zoning ordinance does not require any type of insurance finding or certificate. However, it does require, as you all know, a decommissioning plan. That was a very big part of the ordinance that you all spent, or the Planning Commission spent the better part of a year and a half going through. It's very strong. It's something we support. Any kind of a decommissioning project or decommissioning work should be spelled out in an ordinance in any community, so we were very happy to see it and we support it. We have provided the county with a decommissioning bond. That decommissioning bond must be updated every so often to make sure the costs stay current, so that at the end of the life of this project, whether it's 20 years or 30 or 40, that the cost to decommission, if for some reason we didn't do it, the county would have the money to get it done without it costing the county any money. So that's one of the protections that, all of you and the Planning Commission did a good job of making sure you're protecting the citizens of this county. We have no problem with that. Our expectation for for ourselves is that we will be the ones decommissioning that project. So the decommissioning bond will just be something you'll hold for however long the county will have it, but you'll never need to use it. It's our project, we own it, and we expect to continue to own it. We're not selling it off to somebody like a third-party developer. We are the developer and the owner of that project. In terms of who will be responsible for covering the fees that have been incurred, particularly by the Drain Commissioner and the county, we have already placed $23,000 on file with the county to cover costs for review of the plan by the Planning Commission and for the work that was to be done by the Drain Commissioner. To my knowledge, and I don't know if there's been any bills submitted, but I don't know as that fund has been tapped yet. I know that we have not received a finished product from the Drain Commissioner, so we would not expect there to be a tapping of the fund until a product is delivered that showcases what work has been done. So that's one of the outstanding issues that I know is still ongoing. And we will hopefully bring that to a close very soon. What is the chemical makeup of the fluids that are going to be used to clean the panels? Simple water. We don't use any chemicals to clean our panels. It's just water, and we just need to keep the dust essentially off them, things like that. So there will be no other chemicals used to clean the panels. Topsoil. No topsoil is going to be removed from any of the sites where there are panels or anything else. There may be some, obviously, topsoil that needs to be moved around for grading and so forth, especially where you're going to see the new substations go in. So those, we're going to have to do some significant grading to bring that up to grade. So we'll probably bring dirt in, taking dirt in and bringing gravel in. It's going to be quite a lot of work there, but no topsoil will leave any of the sites. If we do have to move some or grade it, it'll be stored on site for to be put back after the project is complete. So that's something the public can be assured of. There will be nothing leaving that site in terms of topsoil. Are any of the solar panels at risk of leakage, seepage, or contamination to the air, water, or soil if a panel is damaged? And the short answer is no. We provided the county through the Planning Commission, Director of Planning and Zoning, with it used to be known as MSDS, Material Safety Data Sheets, and I think it's listed on there as an MSDS, but the new ones that are in the United States are SDSs. And basically there are no hazardous materials, especially PFAS. I know that's the one that's been the big concern about PFAS. We've already tested the site and found no PFAS. There's no PFAS in the panels themselves, so there should be no way possible, other than it coming from the rain itself, there would be no way for PFAS to be on that site at all, because there's none generated from those panels. So, and at the end of their useful life, hopefully recycling will get even better than it is today, but right now we're looking between 80 and 95%, or 85 and 95% of the panel can currently be recycled. And that's what we would expect to happen with the panels when we're done with them. But again, it's going to be quite a long time before that happens. And one of the issues that, a lot of has been written about this, and so right now people are talking about the capacity of the recycling of panels, but you have to remember, not a lot of solar facilities have been built 30 years ago. California's had some, but so that's where a lot of the recycling is out west. But in the Midwest, I think there's one or two facilities in Indiana, Ohio. But we haven't seen the numbers coming out of the Midwest yet to really generate a lot of activity. So, but it is there. So if panels are damaged or anything happens, we need to replace them. They will be recycled. Let's see, what else? Laydown yards. So there's some discussion about, piles of stone and rock and other things, trailers. And so there are a number of laydown yards. We have a number of different properties that make up the site, the entire Spring Creek solar facility. And so each one's going to have its own laydown yard. And I can tell you that all of the residents in proximity to those laydown yards have been contacted within the last 2 weeks, made aware, updated again on what's going on, and none of them had any issues. So these are the people who are directly impacted, either across the street or next door or behind. We have had no complaints, no issues with any of the laydown yards, and we're going to start seeing a lot more things coming in. Obviously, right now it's the stone and the big pile of stone. I was by it. It looks like a big pile, but you have to remember we're putting drives throughout this whole facility. So we're going to need a lot of stone. And so there'll be stone piles at different facilities, but they won't be there for long because they're going to start doing the work of laying down the roads and making sure, we're not paving it. We're doing all stone so the water can drain through. So that's what those are, and you'll see a lot more activity for those sites over the coming weeks. The trees we covered, eminent domain. So when I heard this one, I really perked up because we have not used eminent domain on any of the parcels for Spring Creek. It hasn't been necessary. And so when I heard that, I was really concerned that somebody would mention that, we're trying to use eminent domain. And so it took some work to find out who the resident was referring to. But I did get the person's name and number, and I reached out, left a message, and I have not heard back. But having some conversations this morning, it sounds as though that was not really an issue after all. So I don't know the genesis of why it was brought up or if it was an issue that got misunderstood or misconstrued. But I want to reiterate, Consumers Energy has not used eminent domain on any parcel for any part of this project at all. And do we anticipate doing so? So if there's any questions about that, I'd be happy to take them, but hopefully that puts that one to rest. And what is the significance of the orange and black fencing? This is a good question because this came up at the Johnstown Township Fire Department Pancake Breakfast. People were asking about it, and I didn't really know we had different colors, to be honest with you. And so I started talking with our construction manager. So, hey, what is the difference between the black and the orange? All it is the orange is to give those folks that are working in that area an extra heads up. Say, hey, be careful. There may be some things we want to protect in this area, some animals or some other things, wildlife in particular, just to give an extra notice that there may be something in here we don't want to disturb. So the black is just the standard silt fencing that goes up around pretty much any construction project. When it changes to orange, that's wildlife kind of notice, heads up kind of thing, kind of like when you see the orange rubber or plastic on the power lines above a construction project, that's to let the operator of the vehicle know, hey, look up, don't be hitting the power line. So it's just kind of a noticing thing. It doesn't have any other significance in terms of the environment or anything other than just warning the operators and people working in that area that there may be something there. So how are we staying in contact? And I do apologize again, we've been kind of a slow period. I did miss a couple of Johnstown meetings because we're slow, but I have 5 other counties I have to work in, and so Tuesday is a pretty popular meeting night, so I did have to attend to some other things there, but we'll be back this month providing a similar update to the board. Also, as I mentioned, I was at the Pancake Breakfast here a few weeks ago, and we'll be out again this weekend on Saturday at the community festival at the fire station there, so we're sponsoring that again this year. But we also maintain a P.O. box where anybody can send questions at any time about this project. We have received some, actually. We responded to a constituent who I think had also presented to the board, and we got her answers back. But that P.O. box is P.O. Box Spring Creek Solar, all one word assumption, at cmsenergy.com. So that we man that, and we pride ourselves on trying to have at least a 3-day turnaround or quicker. Some of the questions that we get require some research, particularly some legal analysis sometimes, so it may take a little longer, but generally 3 days or less is what we strive for. And then we probably should have done this sooner, but one of the things that's come out of the discussions that we've had is that we're going to establish I would call it like a newsletter, a more proactive approach. So any kind of big changes or things that, like construction starting, or you're going to start hearing the pile driver noise, anything like that, we're going to notice people through this email especially those around the project, all of you, all of the Johnstown officials, and anybody else who would frankly like to be part of that. So we'll be sending out an email to you shortly. It may have a QR code, so you feel free, that's safe, you can click on that, and you can put your email in, and then we will get you proactively on that list. It'll just be an email chain, and we'll update you periodically on changes in the project. We don't want to inundate you with a bunch of emails every week saying, okay, nothing new is happening this week. They're still driving piles, still putting stone down. But when major milestones happen, and this will include the RNG facility as well, which should be coming online later this year. That's been also acquired. They've just been working. But it should come online later this year. So we'll update you on the major milestones there and with the solar project. So interesting too on the RNG, we had talked about how important this project is for the company and how unique this project is, not just in the state of Michigan, but in the Midwest. And one of the things that I'm happy to be able to report is that because of the RNG facility, the twinning of that facility with the farm is now expanding. I know Commissioner Campbell knows this, but they're going to maximum size the herd because they need the extra waste from the herd to fuel the RNG facility. So it's a nice little symbiotic relationship that has allowed what was a difficult operation at best previously to now expand to its full size on that site. So we've also, in addition to seeing solar and RNG, we've seen an increase in the actual dairy farm, which is part of the community made very clear to us that they wanted to preserve the farm and the agricultural background, and this is what allowed us to do that. So we're very pleased to be able to report that. And then with respect to a lot of what brought many of these questions to the fore is the stormwater management plan. Obviously, we have a disagreement currently with the Drain Commissioner. We are working through all of these. We've submitted all the documents. We've made updates to the stormwater management plan as the council to the Drain Commissioner requested. That has been resubmitted. And so we are currently in the process of working through with all of you how that's going to work out. But we have no interest in seeing any contamination on that site, I can assure you. The one concern we have is when we start seeing communities who have an ordinance, which has very strict provisions, all set out, suddenly start to say, well, we'll approve this per the agreement or per the ordinance if you sign this site agreement. It's not really appropriate. And we have to be very careful about that. Both of us in this relationship are managed through the ordinance, which is your voice to us. Here's what we expect from you. And in turn, we expect to be able to operate under that ordinance because those are the provisions that you all put in place. But when we start to see outside agreements coming in that are not under that ordinance, which in a contract you can agree to anything, right? And we've had, unfortunately, some circumstances around the state where we've been asked to do things that are not in an ordinance, and they're not in an ordinance purposefully. But then they try to negotiate them outside the ordinance, and we just don't feel that's appropriate. Plus, in terms of contamination is regulated by the state, DEQ or EPA, if it were bad enough. That's who would come in and put the hammer down on us if something happened. So it wouldn't be the Drain Commissioner, it wouldn't be the county, it would be the state authorities, and we do not want any of those folks coming in with enforcement actions. Trust me. We have a whole team of people in our environmental division that do nothing but try to make sure that we do not run afoul of any state or federal environmental laws and concerns and respond to them when they do happen. So I can assure you we have done extensive testing of that site before we ever even considered putting solar there. And we are very confident and very comfortable with what's there currently. We know that there's no PFAS coming because, again, we said there's nothing in those panels that would allow that. And we don't have fuel or anything stored at that site. So we will work through it with you, and I can tell you that we very much appreciate the work that's been done over the last 2 years. It's been a long process. It's been an arduous process, but I think for the citizens of Berry County, you all and the Planning Commission did a phenomenal job, and I know, some faces have changed since those days, and so re-education is important, but all of you all of you now, have my number, my cell number, and my email. You can get me at any time. Please do so. A number of you have. Then we have the P.O. box. We're now going to have the email, and we just encourage you, again, we are not trying to hide anything. We're not trying to keep information from people. If you ever have a question, please reach out. And citizens legitimately do have questions, and we don't have any problem with that. We want them to be comfortable. That doesn't mean happy, okay? I understand not everybody's going to be happy with the project. I understand that. We've said that from day one. But it is here. We have received the zoning permit just this week. So I think for Berry County, other than the stormwater, we're in good shape. We've got all our road permits, addressing. We're going for the permitting on the other side of the border in Campbell County tomorrow night. And so hopefully things will start to kick into higher gear in the next few weeks here. We can really start to bring a project to you that, we will keep our commitment to you and what we said. So I'll be happy to take any questions.
Okay. Questions from commissioners? Commissioner Campbell.
Surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
Surprise. Hey, Greg. The eminent domain thing, that was complete new to all of us when that showed up here. I didn't feel that there was anything behind that, but that wasn't anything I brought up. Actually, a lot of these things, the post box, that's one of the big questions I've been fielded. Hey, how do we get a hold of them? How do we get a hold of them? We've got a question. You've answered that one. The other thing, there was a lot of horror stories going around. Somebody seen a report somewhere where hail damage and stuff had caused some kind of serious ground effect and stuff, and you seem to have cleared that up. There's no issues there at all that could happen from...
Not with the panels we use, and I actually did, after that comment, I did reach, there were two instances that I'm aware of. There may be more, but I know of two. One was in Nebraska, one was in Texas. I think the one that was mentioned referenced, the most recent was Nebraska. So I did reach out to it. It was owned by, I believe it's a co-op. It's not a publicly traded utility, so it was a municipal operation. And so I reached out to the Public Affairs Department and said, hey, because the state, equivalent to DEQ, the State Department did not do an investigation of any contamination from that site post-storm, which I thought was interesting. And so I reached out to the communications department and said, hey, what did you do? Did you find anything? And so they did not respond. I think they thought, maybe this was a scam. They were looking to get them in trouble. But so you saw two different things online. So I haven't been able to confirm because they didn't call me back. But did they or did they not recycle? One said those panels cannot be recycled. They cannot go into landfill because they're contaminated. The other said all the panels are being recycled. So again, I don't know. It's a widely dispersed set of circumstances. You can't have both. They all couldn't be recycled if none of them could be recycled, right? So that's part of the difficulty in getting information. There are people who have a vested interest in trying to make solar look as bad as possible. While at the same time, we can't just say, oh, everything with solar is wonderful and it's all perfect. We've got to come forward with the SDS sheets to explain what's in the panels because they're different. There are different manufacturers, right? But all the ones we're using, no PFAS.
Good. The big direction I was getting on that was people were concerned with the contamination of the ground for 300 years. And so it was a valid concern, but you're nothing there in that aspect that Mother Nature can screw up and do damage to that. It's going to cause any contamination in the ground.
No, that's what we try to prevent through all of our plans. I mean, all the things that we've had to do from the engineering, from the soil mitigation, spill mitigation, stormwater drainage, all of it. All the engineering we have to do, soil testing. We've got a project that's going to require special posts in the ground because of the differences in soils. That's all engineered out. So a lot of work, which is why from the time that we first conceive of a project to the day that we pound the first pile, it can be 4 to 6 years for all the work that has to be done that comes before that. So we are confident we will not have any issues regarding contamination on that site from our facilities at all.
Yeah, I think it's quite interesting that, like you said, I've had phone calls of what the heck's going on down there. You know, how long have we been working on this project? A long time. One of the concerns with Johnstown especially, and of course the other townships surrounding it, was they felt like the project had gotten its approval and it was starting, and now they have not seen you anymore. You know, you said 2, they said 4. So they're thinking, okay, they got what they wanted, they're not going to come back and talk to us anymore. So I think your appearance there will be much appreciated. And
We'll be back next week.
and that'll be a good thing. The other thing, which really had no part for you, my biggest concern, I know it got blown out of shape here with some of the questions I asked I didn't even ask, came more from the gallery than it did from myself. My biggest concern out of the whole thing, and from the start, and does not involve you, is that I feel like the drain commissioner, regardless of whether it was absolutely legal what was done, which it was, I don't think you take and shun a team member. And I think we shunned a team member. I heard reports that he wasn't being cooperative and wasn't mailing back information. I read the emails. I seen the reports that he sent back. So to me, he was cooperating. So I think that's not your problem, but it's a thing that I think we look at internally and say, hey, we're a team here. We got to act like a team, and we got to work like a team. We don't just blow by somebody because he has a difference of opinion, especially when it's an elected official that is in charge of stormwater and drain off. So that was my biggest concern, and that's been the biggest concern at my meetings, and that's what I've been getting taken to the whipping post on. You know, I do have the 4 townships that are very involved with this, and we are the ones that are feeling it. And if anybody's drove by it, you see what reality really is now. And I'm not a good pro, I'm not against, I'm just saying it's reality out there. And we say that we have to wait a little longer to put the thing in. Well, those people have been on those properties 100 years. They're seeing a lot of changes in their lives out there. So I appreciate you coming in, Greg.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Got to be part of the drain commissioner. You know, we are working with some issues. There's clearly a difference of opinion, but I've known Jim a long time. And, you know, personally, this isn't personal. There's some legitimate concerns. And so they have to be worked through. It's just, you know, we'll figure it out. We'll get through it. But I don't want to disparage the drain commissioner, and I hope nobody took that as what I was saying, because, you know, I have nothing against the drain commissioner. He's got a very important job, especially in this county where you got a lot of water. But we also take it very seriously in how we manage our water for every site that we have across the state of Michigan. So when we run into these circumstances, it's just, you know, it's unfortunate that attorneys have to get involved and so forth, but that's just where we are. So we will work through it, and we will make sure that the stormwater goes where the stormwater needs to go, and that there's no contamination.
Well, like I said, it's not, this wasn't a consumer's issue. This was an internal issue here.
Right.
Yeah, you're doing what you have to do, and we do what we have to do here. But regardless, I think an elected official needs to be shown the respect and stuff and consideration, because the ripple turned into a wave, and it didn't have to. And it did, and it didn't have to be that way. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. Commissioner Tunison.
Greg, I want to really thank you for coming today. We needed some clarification.
Is your microphone on? There we go.
Maybe now. Thanks for coming, really. I think there's been a lot of questions a lot of people have had, and I think you cleared up a lot of them today. But have you heard anything about a noise? Is there noise that come from these panels when they're generating power?
The only noise would be that, like, a low buzz from the electrical box that they all feed into. So they should operate, and you shouldn't hear it with the setbacks we have. So we did the noise study, and so there shouldn't be, people should not hear it.
Okay. Another clarification, I really appreciate the fact you mentioned that you're not going to be stripping all the top dirt off. Okay, other than the driveways, is that the dirt where you're putting the driveway's gonna go for making the berms and stuff like that?
Yeah, making berms.
Okay. But I'm glad you appreciate the fact that you mentioned you're going to be going to the township meetings. I think that's where you're going to get a lot of information you can get to the public, because they're going to have a lot of questions, right? So the orange silt fence is what really, when I drove down the roads, is what really caught my eye. It just seemed, and then while using the same reference I did last week, it's an eyesore, right? I mean, you drive down, you see forever that orange is just like seeing a hunter out in the woods, right? You can pick it out for a long ways, and just was the one thing that really caught my eye, of the fact that the project's finally here. But I appreciate you coming and answering some of these questions.
Absolutely.
Commissioner Gannon?
I just had a clarification on the email address.
Yes.
So make sure that I have this right. So no period, so just P.O. Box.
P.O. Box.
Spring Creek Solar at cmsenergy.com.
Correct.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Colton?
It's just a small question. How big is that herd?
I don't know the total number. I know the feed pad was expanded along 37 there. You'll see that to add the extra feed, plus the extra cows, and a new barn out back.
Okay.
So it's been significant investment on the farm side as well.
We're talking thousands.
I had once heard 3,000 when Jeff Van Norwick lived next door and would complain about it.
That's that, 2, 3, 4, just, yes.
Or 4,000?
Yeah.
Or they're getting the extra land to feed them.
Additional questions? Okay, so Greg, just to follow up on some of the comments, storm damage. Let's hope that there are no more. You've had a fun spring already as it is, with little twirly things going through the area and up north with ice. But so for storm damage, if there was an instance where there was storm damage, either from hail or from something more severe, is there a plan in place Consumers has to go in and immediately remediate and or monitor those sites or those systems?
Yes, we'll be notified through our automated system if somebody's not already on site, because we'll track the weather well in advance, so just like we do with any storm. So if there's something that looks like large hail, we'll have people ready to go, and those panels will be removed and replaced. So we don't let them just sit out there, smash. And the ones I saw in Nebraska, I mean, we're talking hail the size of softballs, baseball, softball size. Now that's pretty extraordinary. I mean, the panels are pretty tough. They're made to take hail, but not softball size. Right. So, hopefully we never have that. So I've never seen that happen in Michigan, but that's not to say Mother Nature, with all she's done so far, couldn't whip up something. But if the panels are damaged, they will be removed expeditiously, absolutely, because it's also generation, right? For us, it's like a facility going down. So we cannot have facilities offline for long periods of time, especially in the summer, when we need that energy. So, and then they're going to be producing during the sun, and that's when we get most of the energy out of those panels. So if we want them online, and if they're damaged, obviously they're not producing.
Okay. Would that trigger a DEQ or a state investigation into that at this point?
Not necessarily. We would have to report if there was anything, but again, there's really not, everything's encapsulated. I mean, like if there were mercury connections or anything, it's all encapsulated. So it's not just like in your thermometer or anything where you just see mercury dumping out or seeing other chemicals dump out. It's all encapsulated. So the panels themselves, the glass will shatter from the top, which is the bulk of the panel to start with. That's what would be damaged. And if, unless it went right through, like a meteor just went right through the thing, there would be no other, it wouldn't go through the panel itself, it just cracked the top. So we'd come out, remove the panel, replace it, and reconnect it. We'd test to make sure there's nothing around the panel. And if there was something, we would report it. We have to report it.
Okay. You just, as you read stuff online in a lot of sources, and who knows if they're legitimate sources or not, right. People have an opinion and people have an agenda on some things, both good and bad.
And again, we have to ask what panel.
Mm-hmm.
right? So different panels coming from different places around the world may have different sourcing, but pretty much all the panels being built now and used by us anyway don't have those chemicals in them anymore.
Okay. So, I mean, PFAS is one chemical. I just want to be sure there weren't other chemicals or concerns that if there was an issue, that there's a plan in place to remediate storm damage.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And you have the MSDS sheet.
Okay, and I think you answered one of the questions that these giant stone piles people are seeing pile up, but one of the comments was this is not going back to farmland ever when you've got giant stone piles all over there, but the stone piles are for roadways.
Right. We're not covering the thing with stone.
Okay, and the goal is still to have pollinator habitat around these panels?
It's already in. Well, it's been planted. So the nice thing about this is, and the reason we've said that in general less water will leave the site now is because remember on a farm field you have, there's corn, it'll grow individual stalks, a lot of it's bare ground. This will be all, except for under the panel itself, everything else around it and under it is going to be pollinator. So the entire site will be absorbing water, more water than it did before. So that will also help. So we're very confident in what we put forward on that stormwater management plan to make sure it's making best use of the site, and we didn't close off any of the drainage. So that site, had drainage in it before, parts of it, and will continue to. So we're very confident.
Now, we know there are wetlands and that there are drainage, but to my review of this, and I haven't done an in-depth review, there are no county drains on that property? No county drains. So a stormwater plan is a pretty normal thing for any project, any building project that goes on. So you're not opposed to the stormwater management plan. It was the additional stuff they were requesting for long-term review expense going forward. Okay.
Yeah, the drain maintenance agreement, and I don't know if it's been changed, but the stormwater management plan is something we expect to have on any project.
No opposition, that's something that you are...
No, but we've made the changes that were requested by I think it was LRE as the engineering company, so we've sent back and forth some samples, and we'll get a copy of the correspondence. So the correspondence is received had a few things that were not included that we're going to include. So we'll see the additional correspondence that happened between our side and the council. So that should be forthcoming either today or tomorrow morning.
Okay. So the stormwater management plan will get done at some point, and hopefully the near future. That's just a negotiation. We're working through some of the details on that. And if you could run it up the flagpole there, we'd appreciate camo fencing to highlight danger, animal-sensitive areas.
To check the rules on that one, but I will take that back as maybe something a state legal change, maybe.
Let them know that when you're calling attention to it, that's not necessarily helpful, because when you're driving by and all of a sudden you're like, what? It's everywhere. So that
But it did work, right? So it did work.
Is that what we're going with?
Yes. It's intended to draw attention for the operator, so.
And I'm assuming that that's a construction phase issue. It's not permanent fencing.
No. That is not the fencing for the site, trust me.
And the shading, or I don't know what you call it, where you're creating separation from the actual panels from property owners, that's being done alongside of the panels being put in, or is that being done after the fact? When you're talking about screening.
The screening of the panels?
That's screening.
Or the cutting of the trees?
Screening of the panels from property owners who have adjoining properties, or the visual effects of that.
Right. That will be done as the project concludes. So we want to make sure, generally it's better to plant later in the fall to make sure stuff has a better chance of surviving, but especially the size we're going to be putting in. But that will be done as towards the end of the project.
So if people are saying, all we see are panels, what we see is this right now, that you're going to see them for a minute, but then the screening will be in place eventually.
Right, so we'll be loading in a minute, but I mean, we're in a construction phase, so it'll be no different than any other project where construction's going on. We talked about Mill Street. A lot of construction. People who live along there drive by that every day. It's like, oh, God, dust and noise and dirt. But the end result is going to be something phenomenal for this community, right? The solar will be no different. It's going to be messy. It's going to be dusty for a while. It's going to be noisy when we're pounding those, files every day, but that will dissipate. And again, everybody around that project site that is impacted is being updated on that. Am I going to say they're going to love it? No. Nobody loves it when there's construction going on around their properties. But at the end of the day, we want to do it as quickly and as safely as we possibly can and get this facility online as quickly as we can. So, and put everything back, get all the stuff growing again, the ground covered, get the trees and screening in, and make it a growing project.
Okay. I think that communication is going to be helpful, just because hearing about a solar farm going in or a solar field going in and the actuality of it happening is where the shock is coming from now. And that extra communication, that P.O. box is going to help, because there's always the Facebook commentators out there with various pieces of information that they may or may not be accurate. And I think that's what we're seeing, is that there's some truth and there's some information that's not, and we just need someone to guide that process, and hopefully we'll have some input on it. So I appreciate you cluing us in on all those email updates or newsletter updates as well. Commissioner Small?
I may have missed this, but is there a closure date, finish date? I know it would be an educated guess. And there's going to be maintenance, I take it, on this project.
Right. It'll be first or second quarter of next year. So it's second or third quarter of next year. So there's a lot of panels to go in. The RNG facility will be operational this year, and solar goes online in 26.
So by second or third quarter 2026, they expect this to be operational? Okay.
But we're looking at doing some type of ribbon cutting, because we want you to see it. We want the public to see it. I mean, they'll be able to see it from the road, but we want people to really, experience the lack of noise, so you can see it for yourself, I guess is the bottom line. And then once we put the screening on, then you will see it for yourself. But, we don't want people to be afraid of it. It's a critically important piece of infrastructure that normally a county like Berry probably wouldn't see. But it's important for the overall grid as we expand and as we do things. So again, people say we're going on solar, we're not. We just bought a big gas facility over in Covert. So as we talk about, energy use, and our time of use rates just went into effect 2 days ago. So that energy need is high, but we've planned for it. Our state requires it. And so we are not just putting all our eggs in the renewable basket. It's very important to us, but we also have natural gas backing us up, and some other facilities backing us up. We still have our hydros. So we're trying to do a very across-the-board approach, so we don't have too much balance in one area. So Berry County is definitely going to be an important part of our energy future and the entire state of Michigan's energy future.
Well, it's an important project, but it's also a project that's going to get a lot of skepticism and a lot of eyeballs on it, and this is a model that we hope we can point to and you can point to as something that's been successfully done to the benefit of the constituents, not property value declines and eyesores and stuff like that. That's what we're trying to work through, and I know you've been good with us as far as communication goes, so we appreciate you coming in and taking this on short notice, and I'm sure there'll be a lot more questions at Johnstown this week. So
my pleasure. Reach out anytime. Again, thank you for your partnership and your diligence in working through this with us.
All right. Thank you for coming in. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Greg Taylor with Copper Rock Construction and Development, and I just wanted to the time meeting next week for me, please.
9 a.m. next Tuesday.
Thank you. Have an opportunity to do so. Thank Greg and his company for their participation and helping us with some very complicated. 200.
All right, awesome. Thank you. Additional public comment? Hearing none. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Bassett, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be back. You know, when you leave this country and you come back to it, it's really refreshing to be back in Berry County.
I was going to say,
It's a great
especially
place
since
to
there
live.
was a eruption in Italy. So
Yeah,
it's definitely
yeah.
good to be
We
here.
shook things
versus
up
there.
while we were there, so.
Exactly. Commissioner Colton?
Nope.
Commissioner Getty?
Haley Nature Preserve. It'll come up on your Google map and take you right there. It is only about 6 minutes from Johnstown Township Hall, 11 o'clock, Saturday morning.
Okay. Commissioner Smoker?
I have nothing, thank you.
Commissioner Hatfield?
Well, I'm surprised that Sharon didn't get up to make public comment about the COA groundbreaking. But that has been scheduled now. It's Wednesday, June 25th at 3 o'clock, and hopefully you will all be there. But another great step forward for the county.
It was nice of them to schedule on my birthday, so I'll expect some cake there as well, so you know.
Cake you may get. The rest of what you're interested in, we'll take care of afterwards.
There you go. Commissioner Campbell?
I'd just like to say thanks to the Parks Commission for all the work they've put into the Bailey Park down there. I tell you, it's I hate to be too proud about it, but I don't know if there's a more beautiful place in the county. It's just beautiful that we stumbled into that acquisition. It's unbelievable. For 100 years or more, it's going to be a prize. So thank you for all you've done on that.
Yeah. Bruce and I got to walk that property with Catherine through the brambles and the mosquitoes and the brush and the thorns, and
I didn't say it was not without negatives.
I
I know the
guarantee,
deer love it.
I guarantee your walk on Saturday will be much more enjoyable. I went out and cut brush down on Sunday, and you can really take a very nice walk from the old cabin site to the lake. It's beautiful.
Bruce and I were concerned why you were taking us way back into the dark woods. We didn't know if we were going to make it out. So, but
Brought them back.
They're here today to talk about it.
She was mad at us.
yeah, exactly. Commissioner Tunison?
I'm good, Mr. Chair, thanks.
Thank you. I'm set well. Thank you, commissioners. Good meeting this morning. Good. Excited to see the future of PACE in Berry County and how that can impact us. Appreciate Greg Moore coming in on short notice and addressing some of those concerns as well. I'm sure there'll be more. And the opioid information, they've been working on this for so long that it's good to see them proceeding with this. So thank you. Do we have comments before we are adjourned?
Real quick,
Okay.
I mentioned last week that we've been. Dr. Hansel at WMed. Surprised and not been notified of any of them. Maybe some communication concerns. And I asked him to reach out directly to local funeral homes and to share. Are not going forward. Very impressive facility. I know it's not one you don't want to walk through. But it was very interesting to see the WMed facility. And what I can see and I can tell, we have a top-notch team that we're working with. We'll get through issues. So I appreciate his openness and willingness to help, and we'll judge them by their follow-up from here. So pass that on to Scott Daniels, who's the one who brought this to my attention. Just want to let you know that follow-up is done. Hopefully we'll resolve anything going forward.
Perfect. Thank you. I have nothing else, commissioners. We are adjourned. Have a great day.